Hey guys, it's Adam here. So I thought I'd do a bit of walking and talking. My BMI's come back and it's kind of close to the red, so I actually need to get out of the house more. And I want to use this chance just to talk a little bit about the AI wars that seems to be afoot, and just really, with a bit more of a cynical approach, talk through what the technologies that have come out the past couple of weeks, why it's such a big thing, but also what it kind of means long term. So I'll try to cover it with a bit more of an open mind, rather than just sort of hype that you might be hearing. The first thing is probably, let's start with the Llama model. So this is the, I believe this is the Facebook model that was kind of released in the most comical way. Somebody pretended to be a developer and just put in a pull request, and once they asked for the source code, one of the developers at Facebook thought, that's fine. I think the comment was, looks good to me, LGTM, and gave them a torrent to the full model. So Facebook claimed the model was always going to be released publicly, and we don't know about that, but either way, that's come out. They've got some new features which allows it to run more modularly, so it can run on a small mobile phone and is a sort of GPT equivalent, so it can run on old mobiles. So there's some good features there, but that's just one of the many. The next one, let me think, is the Microsoft Copilot. So that one is, I don't know if it's GPT engine in the background, because Microsoft's bought OpenAI, or more or less, so they own that anyway. But effectively they've integrated their large language model into, their Office suite. So very soon you're going to be able to say, in Word, it won't even be a plugin. I assume you just click the button and it'll be write me a story on this, or write me a summary of that, and I'll just do it for you. It'll simplify your Excel life and things like that. So, expect a lot of stupid predictive stuff to become even more and to snowball. So that's probably the Microsoft side. Now what else have we got? We've got Microsoft, Facebook, Google, their Bard model. I've been looking at the benchmarks. So Bard is very similar to your sort of chat GPT, and remember, they were on the back foot for a long time and they were under pressure to release their model, and there's a lot of sort of scandal that they never really had much of an intention of releasing their stuff anyway. So yeah, I mean, until the Microsoft, until ChatGPT came out, it seemed that Google were just happy to plod along and milk their employees and do all their usual crappy corporate stuff, until they actually finally got a shock and somebody challenged their dominance, and now they're scrambling to try and not be left behind. So my take on that is, fuck them. I'm definitely not going to be using Bard. I don't agree with the company's ethics. I think they fired a bunch of employees, and they've gone doing another round of I don't know how many thousand, and there's an open letter to the CEO basically saying, don't be evil. The exact words they quoted, and the reason why they said don't be evil was because Google's original, when they started up and in the early days, in their office they had a big banner saying don't be evil, and then they took it down I think about the time when they started taking ad revenue. So it was really well known, they were really progressive, idealistic, humanitarian vision in the early days, but then that just sort of fell apart once money came onto the scene. Then there's GPT, which is exactly the same thing. So OpenAI, originally they took your data because they were non-profit, which meant that they were doing this for research, and the model would be open and everybody could tweak it, and that it would allow people to grow their own things, and their initial vision was safe AI. So Elon Musk put in over 100 million of his own money, and under the impression that their whole job was to fucking make AI safe and to work around AI ethics and safety, not to make a model that they could monopolize on data that they took from people's consent who thought it was not going to be monetized. That's kind of like me going up to you and say, hey bro, I see you've got a car company, I've got a car company too, but I kind of want data, I'm not going to use it, it's just like to get insights, I promise I won't use your corporate data. And then, you give me your data and then the next day I've used it to build a better product because I know what product you're about to release. That's literally stabbing people in the back. So what can you really say about that other than they're now for profit, so should they be called OpenAI anymore? I mean, if their models are not open and their doctrines change, so for example, they no longer use your feedback for research, they're following, this whole corporate ethical data protection sort of standards that all these big corporates do to pretend that they're on your side. If they're doing that and you're no longer have access to their models, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but yet it's built upon half of the internet, which we all agreed to under the pretenses that it was non-profit, and now they're doing it for profit. Is that really open? Obviously not. So, I suggest a name change to close the AI. That would be more appropriate. Okay, next up is Baidu, and they've got a large language model that's come out. It's nowhere near as competitive from what I've been reading. It's something along the lines of maybe more like a GPT-2 or GPT-1. It names specific domains it's good at. However, the minute that they did the demo, they got 30,000 requests for API access from businesses, not from individuals, but from actual... I didn't even know there were 30,000 companies in the world, let alone ventures. So yeah, they've all put in API requests. I know China's a big country, but wow. And you probably heard that recently the traffic and internet traffic for ChatGPT is by far the highest in China, so they're very, very interested in large language models. Let me think what else is next. So we've gone Facebook. Alpaca. So this is the only thing that's really positive, because they kind of did their fingers up to the rest to everyone else. They managed to take the foundation on which ChatGPT was built, or GPT-3 I think, and then they simplified it and reduced the cost from millions to like $600. Normally what happens is when good technology comes out, like a mobile phone, it costs thousands, tens of thousands of pounds. Only the rich people can use it, and then it takes 10 to 20 years of innovation to bring those costs down. What Alpaca's just basically done is they've just bypassed all of that and they've reproduced a model for $500-600. So clearly the lawyers from Microsoft will be jumping right on that one. This isn't unlike what Microsoft's been doing in their history before. How dare people find a cheaper solution? So yeah, expect that one to not last and definitely not remain in the public domain other than illegally. But these are really early days. I could be wrong on that. I mean, the will of the people could win out. I would really love to see that, but it is what it is. So I think that's the major review, the main ones. I'm probably missing one, but the point I want to get across at is there's so many models that have come out now. It's more or less an AI war, right? Like an AI war between large companies and organizations. That was a dog wars there. Two dogs across the street from each other, barking at each other, which is pretty much a good metaphor for what's actually going on. We're going to have at least 5 or 6 of the largest companies all rolling out AI. And interestingly, half of them weren't even interested, right? It was on their radar, but it wasn't first book item because they were too busy dividing the country and setting us against each other with all of their divisive socials, advertising and general campaign of disinformation around their own products. And now all of a sudden they realise that if they don't move fast on this, some other new company will eat their dinner, which was meant to be OpenAI, but they sold out. So really, my opinion on this is really straightforward. If you want to have a future career, you've got really two options. You can join them, which is definitely a great option. You can learn lots. Or you can consider what is the world going to look like post large language model. Now, for sure, that's going to take us forward for the next 5 years, and it's amazing the improvements that are going to roll out. But long term, large language models, I mean, we begin to see the limitations of neural networks like 3-4 years ago. Although I had been mentioning that, you can see my previous talks from 10 years ago. I think now we'll see those limitations a lot quicker because the whole world's jumped on this. That said, we'll probably ride it for like 2 to 3 years. There'll be, big changes from applications that utilize this. But long term, they'll quickly dry up because ultimately large language models are not sentient, they're not aware, they're not even logically aware of the things that they're trying to predict, right? Like they're just predicting the next words. It's a Chinese room essentially. That's a problem where you're effectively communicating with something that has no factual knowledge or conceptual knowledge of what it is that you're talking about. It's just very smart at matching patterns and putting human dialogue to a baseline. Ultimately, the way forward, I think, for those who are really passionate about machine learning and artificial intelligence, is to learn, obviously, to bake this in, like don't ignore it. But you're going to start to need to think about what technologies or what use cases will remain after the big corporates have mopped up the low-hanging fruit. And don't get me wrong, they will mop them up. They are going to, they're already capitalizing. And this is the fastest mobilization of corporate tech I've seen since the blockchain fad, right? Like when companies like large banking institutions and governments were like storing bonds on the blockchain, insurance and things like that. That was huge, but this is potentially bigger. So we need to think about what the world after large language models has settled down, what that's going to look like, and how you're going to carve out the future for you. If this was interesting, let me know, and I'll do another talk on what those futures will look like and what technology stacks and things that you should work on. Anyway, I'm done for now. That's my rant over.